Ballerina missteps, cable legacy brands jump to streaming, Warner Bros. Discovery makes a seismic shift, and so much more on this episode of Beyond the Screen. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Beyond the Screen. I'm your host today. My name is Ryan, and as always, I am joined by the lovely Jake Holtzclaw. Jake, what's up?
What's going on, dude? We'd like to preface that our director is out of state, actively in an airport, might join halfway between this, and I'm not going to say the last bit that she told you all to say, told us to say, but she wishes she could be here directing, but she may join while in the airport and be here in spirit. We might let you guys see her, might let you hear the airport.
It's a wonderful sound.
It's up to Ryan.
Yeah, no, it is a lovely sound, and I won't say exactly what she wanted you guys to know at home that we were not letting her direct while she's at the airport waiting to hear she's at her terminal waiting to hear the boarding to start, and she called us certain things jokingly, and we will not be repeating them here. So you know now, but thank you for introducing Emily again. If she hops in, she will have lovely words for you. But yeah, it'll be just us again. This week, she'll be back in full force next week, directing entirely. So you'll just get, I know everyone's at home's like, yay, no more Ryan directing. And yeah, rightfully so. So we'll just be hosting, and Emily will be taking care of all the behind the scenes stuff. And hopefully she'll hop into our conversation because she always adds so much just to the conversation. So with that being said, we always start with a little bit of small talk. I'm going to start with Jake. What you been up to? How you doing? What's been going on?
I went home this past weekend. I love how our show is on Monday, so we get to go over what we did on the weekend, because if it was on a Friday, it'd be like work.
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing. I went home. Dad said I need to pull the fence out in the front yard, which 6-foot posts, 3 foot above the ground, 3 foot in the ground. We took a tractor, the loader tractor, and lifted them out of the ground. But that was fun because I then also had to put them on the tractor to then take to the pile. So
Yeah.
lifting posts was part of it, and then I changed the oil in 2 vehicles.
Farm.
So a bunch of work. A bunch of work. So how are you, Ryan?
They're 2 weeks in a row. No way. No, I'm doing good, man. This past weekend was one of my rare kind of lulls. I was still fairly busy as usual. For those who know me personally, I only go 100% all the time. There's always something to be attending. So I don't really get a lot of time to just kind of like hang out. But what I will say is, like, I got some time to actually sleep and to vibe out and I don't know, just hang out. Wrote a ton of our script that we're going to be reading from today, and a lot of stuff has been going on, which is I'm really excited, especially from this morning. So if you know anything about anything going on in the world of cinema and media and entertainment, you'll know that there's some big news coming out of Warner Bros. Discovery, which we'll talk about in our next segment. So stick around through our box office numbers, which is always our first segment to know or to hear about what's going on and stay in the know about everything Warner Bros. And overarching media and that sort of thing. However, before we get to our first segment, the big thing that I've been doing over the weekend that I'm really excited for, and my book is all the way back here on this desk, so give me a second. I got a book.
Guys, he wrote a book.
No, I didn't write a book, but I love to read, and I don't give myself enough time to ever do it. And so to try to curve that, I'm trying to just pick out books that I've had interested. Because I don't know about you, Jake, but I have like a catalog of books that I'm like, I would love to read that. But because I don't read enough or I don't like have the time, I don't like invest the money.
Like you spend too much on streaming platforms.
Right. Yeah, that's what we talked about. Well, yeah, that's unavoidable with our profession. But I did get this. Hold on. I've been trying to get this for forever. I know it's backwards for you at home.
50 Shades of Grey. If you're at home only listening, he's holding up 50 Shades.
Yeah, that's it. No, yeah. So 50 Shades of Grey. I've been really meaning to get into it for a really long time. It just speaks to me as a person and allows me to no, not 50 Shades of Grey. It's called House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. And I've heard about this. I saw it, believe it or not, on the gram. I saw it across book Instagram or whatever you call it. It's just this dude was talking about like his next must read, and he was talking about House of Leaves. And what caught my eye is that it's actually, from what I ascertained, because I try to go into books, like I like to just be super base level. Like I don't want to know anything else outside of the most broad synopsis, because I like to be surprised. And from what I understand, this book is about a rediscovered like screenplay or script about a documentary series or some sort of something similar that was like planned, prepped, ready to go. But it's content material. It made the whatever documentary in the world of the book get canceled. And so while you're reading it, you're actually following the character who found the script as he's trying to figure things out. So there are parts in the book where you see parts of the script like marked out in red ink and written in the margins. And it's like you get some like it's there's also you might see it flip through here. See, you see it looks like a script for those watching at home, and there are like visual aids. Like I don't want to get too, but like look like this stuff. It's apparently it's a thriller. Apparently it is gripping. It's like it catches you from page 1 to page whatever. I don't know how many pages it is. And so I was at Barnes and Noble, which I normally peruse and torture myself with. Like I would love to read this, but I don't want to pay for it because I won't. Anyway, I found this and my girlfriend was like, just get it. She got tired of me talking about it for 6 months. So
if anybody out there knows his girlfriend, that's actually just her.
Yeah.
Just get it. Like I've heard that more than once. That's not something new. That's
just do it.
If she's tired of hearing, if you say it twice, the third time she's going to tell you just do it.
In the best way possible, in the sweetest way. She is an enabler, but only of the nicest things. Like that's like
that's everybody at work for me.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Why wouldn't you just do it? Like that sounds like a great idea. Yeah. It's like I'm
all
talking
the
about
reasons I just listed off.
Yeah. This is a $30, $40 book that I might not read in the next year. Well, why not? You'll read it at some point. Like stop being a good influence.
And here, folks, once an episode, that $1,300 motorcycle that I don't know how to fix and don't know how to ride, do it.
Just do
get it.
No, but the thing is that like you have taken that initiative, and it's like I know we've talked about this before, but you know
you know how to read.
How do you know that? You sure?
Maybe I don't see. You can't split us apart because it's the same boat. It's just yours is a book. And mine can kill me.
One of us is like really safe and really nervous about everything, and you're like, let me just ride. No, but what I was saying is like you have taken the initiative and like you have found every nook and cranny of this bike. Like you know that thing better than the back of your hand at this point. So it's like it's cool. Like it's cool to see what you're doing, and so mine is just I won't read, and my girlfriend's like, then read.
You showed me every nook and cranny of the book already.
It looks neat. It looks really cool.
You've done the research. You watched the gram on it. So nevertheless.
Anyway, House of Leaves, I can't recommend it, but I will say give it a try before I read it. And then once I read it, I will come back and I'll tell you as per usual. That's why you're here, right? To hear my opinion, the correct opinion. Anyway.
This is a movie podcast, not a book podcast. I don't think your opinion matters here.
If I started reading it in like a Kindle or something, it is a screen that we can be beyond.
Beyond. Okay, when the movie comes out, then we can talk about
Who knows? We have more video game adaptations to talk about today too. On that note, it's a great time to get into our box office hits. Our first segment is always going over this past weekend's box office results and telling you the biggest and the best or the worst from this past weekend's results, who's seeing what and who's going where. So, for starters, we're going to start and stay around in Disney. As Lilo and Stitch, in its third consecutive weekend in theaters, finishes number 1 in dominating fashion, earning $32.3 million, bringing its domestic total up to 335.6 and its global tally to 772.4 million. Those numbers are insane. When you take into account that it's been in theaters for less than a month, this has been 3 weekends, and it's about to catch a Minecraft movie, which was out for about 9 weekends before it hit the $950-something million mark. And Lilo and Stitch is almost $800 million in 3 weeks. So this is going to be, you're probably going to get this film as your best, highest grossing film of the year globally. I think there are a few films that can compete with it, but for this to be this far in or this short of a tenure and it already be where it is, it's going to be $1 billion franchise. So
Zaslav this year.
Well, I guess that counts, but the majority of that came from the Chinese market, and we can't even be for sure. Like watch Mojo. Box Office Mojo completely wiped it. Like it's not even
for a week.
Yeah, I guess it's back now, but like it's who knows. But what I will say that $335.6 million mark domestically makes Lilo and Stitch the 5th highest grossing live action remake for Disney ever. So this film is very quickly growing and joining really valuable company. As we talked about at length, live action adaptations are here to stay, and Lilo and Stitch is just another in a trend of a really popular and very valuable trend. So moving on, finishing second, from the world of John Wick, Ballerina, the spin-off, sputters into second place in its first weekend in theaters, falling short of its projected $35 million opening by only pulling in 24.5 after the weekend. This is the lowest opening for a John Wick film, since the opening or the original 2014 action flick hit theaters. So not many people are going out to see this. But the thing is, when people do go and see this film, they're loving it. They're completely happy for it. So what's up with, why?
I hate to think it's because woman. I hate to think that, right? But I'm here. I love Ana de right? Armas.
Yeah,
I
Ana
think
de
that's how I'm
Armas.
Ana de Armas. I say every vowel incorrectly in her name.
No, it's okay.
So I love everything that she does. And that's not just because but anyway, no, I still think that this film's awesome. And I see advertisements for it all over the place of her
Yeah.
acting, not acting, but like going through the motions of a fight with John Wick. Like
Yeah.
that's the ad that keeps popping up on my screen. I think it's probably still a good watch. It's just if it's not John Wick, I think these diehard people are like, it's not.
That too.
He's in it. He's literally in it.
But I also feel like people see this character, the ballerina, as like such a secondary character that it doesn't they're not even going to give it the time of day. But as we talked about, this film has earned a 76% on the tomato meter, which is certified fresh. It's not the highest, but it's not bad. That's actually fairly good. The thing is, the biggest tell point for me is an A- cinema score from Podtrack. So those who are seeing it, when they review it, they're giving it an A, which is a fantastic review. Like most of the time they land in the B to B- area. This is an A-. So those who are seeing it are loving it, but not many people are going and seeing it. Thus far,
yeah, well, I mean, not many.
Sorry, go ahead.
It is 24 million. Second place. People are going to see it. It's just, I don't know where they missed out.
Yeah.
Are they going to see Mission Impossible?
Which is exactly what we're going to. Before we get to Mission Impossible, Ballerina has earned $50.5 million globally thus far. So I don't know. It's probably got a hefty price tag, which is why people say it's not doing as well. But the thing is that it underperformed by over 10 million. So not a lot of people something happened. So as Jake lovely spoiled for us, finishing third is Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Holding strong is the Tom Cruise-led 8th installment into the franchise, earning $14.8 million domestically. One would be forgiven to think the action flick is losing steam because it's not a crazy high number. However, when you take into account that in the Chinese market, the film pulled in over $47.5 million, it's still going strong. This is a franchise that is dominating the Chinese market and its overseas market in general. So while it's not doing as well here domestically, internationally it's doing fantastic. So overall, it's earned $149 million domestically just in its run here alone, and over $450 million globally. That $450 million globally mark puts it in the conversation for one of at least the top 5 highest grossing films of the year thus far. That is just past or right at where Captain America: Civil War was. And if we remember, in April and May, people were freaking out because Civil War was the highest grossing film at under $500 million. And now we have like 2 or 3, maybe 4.
Are you still talking about Warfare?
No. Brave New World. Sorry, did I say Civil War? Brave New World.
Yeah.
Captain America is what I said.
Sorry. Okay.
No. Brave New World. No.
When he says Civil War, it just means insert movie here.
No, Captain America: Civil War, Civil War Warfare. That's my fault. But the point is that Captain America: Brave New World at the beginning of the year was 400 and it's 420 something, 430 something. Now we have 3 or 4 films completely demolishing that number, including Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Coming in fourth is Karate Kid Legends. The Sony Pictures film finishes fourth again after pulling in $8.5 million domestically. The film has thus far earned $35.3 million domestically, $73.9 million globally after 2 weekends, which isn't a bad price tag. But again, when you take into account that these films are becoming more and more expensive to make, you want to see something, especially that is as nostalgic as Karate Kid. You want to see this film kind of do a lot more, and it's just not. So, rounding out our top 5, we have Final Destination Bloodlines. In its 4th weekend, the film has earned another $6.4 million, bringing its domestic total to $123.5 million and globally to $257.4 million. So, on the opposite end of what we've just been talking about, Final Destinations has absolutely demolished its any sort of predictions and its production cost. So, with that out of the way, Jake, we're going to take a look at the rest of the box office this past week, and just, is there anything that sticks out to you? Anything that you want to kind of take note of?
I have 2 notes, maybe 3, but the Phoenician Scheme with Wes Anderson's film with Michael Cera and many others, 6.2 million. It was like less than 200,000 away from top 5 from beating Final Destination, and I think it was robbed. I love Wes Anderson, so
yeah. And it's, I mean, and the thing is, for it to finish where it finished, it jumped from 14th last week to 6th and was under, what is that, 200,000 from passing Final Destinations for that 5th spot.
right.
So very tight competition there between 5 and 6 for the Phoenician Scheme. But the thing is, we were talking about this before we hopped on the air, is I felt like after the Cannes Film Festival over in France, that this just, the marketing for it kind of faded. Like, it's still making money. Like, for a film that's Wes Anderson films, I don't think they cost that much, right? Like, you don't really ever hear. Now, that's
You got
just
a lot
me.
of big names.
They do, but that's just me assuming, because I don't remember ever hearing about, like, oh, Wes Anderson and his high production value. Like, you don't really hear that. So I would assume, and forgive me for doing so, but that they're not that crazy expensive to film.
The Phoenician Scheme. What would you call that? Budget? No, it's not budget. What's blanking on the
Production
word.
cost or something to that effect. So far, it's made 18 million worldwide, which isn't bad.
They're not out yet on that one, apparently. Anyway, and then my second point would be top 10 at number 8 is Dandadan Evil Eye, which is an anime for those unaware, and it is I guess that one's a movie. And it's like a decently popular anime right now, cracking top 10 at 3.1 million, shown in 1,000 theaters. So it's through G Kids, which is the usual distributor for the animes that hit theaters. But that's like, it's still crazy to me that I will see top 10s of these anime movies and not see a lick about them. Like, I have, like, Dandadan like comes up on my feed, and I'm like, I don't watch it. I've watched the first 2 episodes and just didn't really like get into it. It was good. It was just I didn't get into it. I had other shows I'd rather watch. I might come back to it, but like to see them actually have a movie and then also not hear that they had a movie was a little weird to me.
Yeah.
And then the third one, I just wanted to mention that 9 and 10 after that, still Sinners and Thunderbolts.
Holding strong.
So holding strong. I mean, they're losing. I mean, there's still a lot of theaters showing them, but you know, it's eighth week for Sinners and 6th week for Thunderbolts. Still holding top 10. I always like to talk about the people who didn't make top 5 because they don't get talked about as often, and it's usually like some like either holding power to stay in the top 10, which like crazy. We've seen one that was up there at 15 weeks still holding top 7.
Was that Mufasa?
It might have been.
I think it was.
But I wouldn't be surprised if I scroll down here and saw Mufasa at week 50.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But that's all I have to say. Ryan, do you have anything?
No, I mean, I think that you kind of hit all the big ones. I will say something that caught my eye is finishing. This is way down there. 18th is The Life of Chuck from Neon. That stars Tom Hiddleston. And I had seen a lot about that. This is its first weekend in theaters. I mean, it's only in 16 theaters, so this might be like an early, like, what they did the same thing for Oh, Adrian Brody's recent Oscar film. You just watched it.
Brutalist.
Brutalist, thank you. Yeah, they did something similar, but it was a very limited release, and then they did an extended nationwide after. But I'm not hearing anything about it. And the thing about the Brutalist is you heard a ton about it. So
Yeah.
it's
I think
shocking.
the Oscars helped that
Oh,
one.
well, for sure. But The Life of Chuck with Tom Hiddleston down there that far in week one, yes, only in 16 theaters. So the fact that it made over $200,000 is insane. But
The
that,
first time I heard of it was when I was looking for trailers for this episode.
yeah,
And I was like, Tom Hiddleston's doing something. Little did I know it was in theaters.
I think that's my one like moment that I'll have in this is I mean, like I could go on about Bring Her Back is still top 10. It finished 7th after finishing 5th last week. Everyone's talking about that horror film. You already talked about Sinners and
I
Thunderbolts.
talked about everything.
Friendship is still there at 12. Like these, you know, we could go on, but like that, I think that was the biggest one that caught my eye was the fact that The Life of Chuck was so far down. I didn't even know they were releasing this week. So maybe that's just the calm before the storm. Yeah. So with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next segment. So coming up after the break, a massive shakeup at Warner Brothers Discovery, and is cable officially dead? Coming up next.
Darn it!
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Jake is gone, so it's just gonna be me for the next few minutes. You've made it to segment 2, our major cinema news. Yeah, so it's okay for those who are just listening and not watching us on YouTube, or you can watch us on Spotify too. But for those just listening, Jake, his camera went away. I did not spot it. I'm sorry.
I swear I've gotten 3 phone calls in the first segment, and I was like, like it's not hitting my watch, so I don't know who it is.
Yeah.
And it irks me because if they call 3 times, then that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So I switched cameras.
Oh no.
And I thought I could get back to my phone.
No, it's okay.
Fast enough.
And I apologize for catching you, but for those of you watching that, he's back. So anyway, hopping into our cinema news, this is the biggest thing that's happened today and probably of the last week. This is a seismic shakeup in the world of entertainment, as you heard me talk about at the very beginning of our show. Warner Brothers Discovery is dividing into 2 companies amidst a massive internal reorganization. So these 2 now publicly traded entities will be split into 2 different kind of categories. One will cater towards streaming and the other will cater towards traditional television, which we'll get into why the second one is all the more detrimental after we talk about Warner Brothers, which Jake knows we talked about that before. But moving on with what's going on in the world of Warner Brothers, CEO David Zaslav will remain in charge of the streaming side, now as of right now being called Streaming and Studios, while CFO Gunnar Weidenfels will lead the television side, currently called Global Networks. So this split will also see the majority of the company's debts taken on by one of these 2 sides. And Jake, I want to just ask, which one do you think will be taking the debt?
Not Zaslav's.
No. In fact,
probably the one that got the crappy end of the stick with cable to begin with.
Yes. So Weidenfels, who was the guy who was the CFO of Discovery before and during the merger and since, has just became CFO for all of Warner Brothers Discovery. He is now taking over the global network side and the traditional television side, as I just pointed out. That side of the 2 company split will be taking on the majority of the $38 billion debt.
That's, I mean, it's like one of those cons, like cons of the century.
You could become a CEO and run your own studio with all these, like you get CNN, you get TNT, you get, Bleacher Report, but now you have to deal with billions of dollars in debt.
It's like the biggest scheme where you can just like, yeah, I did really, really bad and amassed a massive amount of debt. No, I didn't.
Yeah.
This guy did.
Yeah, and so it's just...
I don't know which side you're on.
That's correct now. No, wrong way. There you go.
This guy has $38 billion in debt now.
Yeah, and so, as I just said, the side being run as, again, that's called Global Networks by Weidenfeld. He will be running TNT, CNN, Bleacher Report. Obviously, Discovery will be going to that side because he brought them into that. He's going to take them out. The other side run by Zaslav, will have the traditional Warner Brothers TV and movie studios, as well as all of HBO, which just got transitioned back to HBO Max. So now all of a sudden things are starting to look a little clearer. That whole thing with why they're going back to Max was because they changed it from Max or HBO Max to Max because they wanted to be more family friendly to accommodate the Discovery side of things, and it didn't work out. They lost a lot of money. No one really understood it. A couple months ago, maybe not even a couple months ago, a month and a half ago, they're like, we're going back to HBO. And now all of a sudden they're splitting, and all of that side of it goes to not the Discovery side. So, and on top of that, DC Studios and the games division all goes with Zaslav. That's a rough deal. That I think it has to be just, we have to fix this is what it was. Like, it reads, we're not winning. We can't break up Warner Brothers and Discovery, but we can separate into two companies, just be called two different halves of Warner Bros, but get away from me. And that is really what it reads. So this split also mirrors what NBC Universal is doing with its own company. So, and it's not the same thing because obviously there's a lot more history with Warner Bros. Discovery, and NBC is just saying, hey, we're just going to do this for this reason. One's a business decision and the other seems a little bit more, I don't want to say vindictive, but a little bit more planned, if that makes sense. So NBC Universal, is creating a company called Versant, which is where all of their broadcasting all their cable networks are going to go. So if you think of anything not like NBC channels or NBC Sports, that kind of thing, they're all going to Versant, and then the what I just excluded is going to stick under the NBC kind of umbrella. So they're mimicking and mirroring that sort of style of business. So in an official statement, Zaslav remarks, quote, by operating as two distinct and optimized companies in the future, we are empowering those iconic brands with the sharper focus and strategic flexibility they need to compete most effectively in today's evolving media landscape. Maybe for himself.
Yeah.
Most definitely not for, again, the Discovery.
I really want to know how Gunner, would you say Winden?
Hold on, let me go back and find it. Windenfels, yeah.
Wieden.
Or Weidenfels, yeah.
Weiden.
Yeah.
I just want to know his reaction. I want to know how he took it. Because, like, if I was told that I not only got the crappier of the two companies, crappier in the world of, I'd rather be doing movies than the Discovery. Is it this? I assume it's ESPN, Discovery Channel, and
so ESPN is
CNN.
That's later. ESPN is not a part of this. So Discovery. Sorry. No, you're good. So what's going on that opposite side that's being housed or ran by Gunnar Weidenfels is CNN. It's TNT. Bleacher Report, which is the sports side of, like, TNT Sports and Bleacher Report are kind of like not one and the same, but there's more sports heavy. As well as Discovery are all going with Weidenfels. And yeah.
Well, arguably the worst side, in my opinion, compared to all of the fun that Zaslav gets to have and make wrong decisions for, as we all know. I just want to know his reaction. I want to be the fly on the wall to be like, I want to see him throw his coffee cup or something. Like, this seems like something you'd throw a coffee cup over.
I just feel so bad for him too, because you got to think, as I said earlier, this is the guy who was the CFO of Discovery when the merger happened. So he was a major player when Discovery merged with, and you're going to hear me say legacy brand a lot during this episode because there's a lot of legacy brand news. So you have Warner Brothers. It's the Warner Brothers. You are Discovery. You have, I mean, everyone knows kind of like Investigation Discovery and the Discovery Channel and all that fun stuff. Like, they're very family friendly, very educational, but without having some big parent company, what are you going to do? Like, you're big, but is there really room to grow outside of jumping into more entertainment? So you make almost the impossible happen by merging with Warner Brothers, who also needs the help. They need more of an audience, and so on and so forth. Gunnar was a big part of that. And now, 4 years, 5 years later, this. So like you talk about being a fly on the wall, when you add in all this extra context and just all these elements, especially with Zaslav, which we'll get into it, how poorly he's run this company. Now you get you get booted out, essentially. Said, here's the stuff we don't want. Here's all the money we don't want to pay. Go. Good luck.
Yeah, and there I don't know a lot about TV or cable to begin with. I wouldn't even begin to claim I know what the studio side, even Zaslav's side. I wouldn't claim to know how that runs, but to me, the opportunity to make the money to pay the debt is on Zaslav's side.
I
Whereas on the cable side, how are you going to pay back 38 billion? Even with like the topic we're going to talk about later, cable is not as strong as it once was and might never get back to there.
so
So
here's what's crazy too. So not only do we have one side running the traditional television, something that I did not put in the script that I did glance over, and we will post. You'll have the link at home if you want to read our articles from Variety. This, as of right now, the assumption is that the next day streaming deal, because it's not even a deal, it's their own property. So of course it's going to show next day on Max or HBO Max because it's still if it's on TNT, it's going to still show on HBO because as of right now they're the same property.
right.
As of right now, there's no indication that's going to change. So if I'm Gunner and I create content and it's successful, it's still going to the opposite side.
Great.
So it's like, at least as of right now, that could change because this is so new. This literally happened just this morning as we're recording on Monday afternoon. So it's like, just this is like, there's so many levels of just terrible for one side and great for the other because Zaslav, as you read a comment on the article from Deadline, and talking about, hey, I just want to run a studio. I don't want to deal with all this stuff. And that's exactly what's happened.
Yeah.
So giving further context, before the announcement of the split into two companies, not Warner Brothers and Discovery splitting, that one company that they made is splitting into two and they're separating them. I meant to preface that before. It is not Warner Brothers and Discovery splitting, although they technically are. It's still going to be Warner Brothers 1 and Warner Brothers 2, but one gets crappy end of the stick versus the other one gets literally every property ever and all the dead. So before all that happened, Warner Brothers shareholders symbolically, that's in quotation marks everywhere, I see symbolically, voted to refuse David Zaslav's $52 million pay package. This was according to an SEC filing during an investors meeting. So there is what is called a non-binding advisory measure that approves the most recent compensation package kind of presented. So if you're a shareholder or stockholder of Warner Brothers Discovery, you got what is called a say on pay vote. So with that, when you get that vote, you can say, hey, like you get to read all the numbers and you say, I approve because the guy that is running the show is doing a great job and I think that he deserves this. If he can hit these marks, then great. Or you could say, this is terrible. You say this is not working. I don't approve of all this money going to this place, whatever.
When do we get to do that vote, Ryan?
During that vote for Warner Brothers, almost 60% of those who voted said that this was not worth it. They shot down the package. 60% of all voters from shareholders in the room said David Zaslav and company are not worth it. This
Not
is
worth 52 million.
This is days before this happened.
Yeah, this is big step forward in a lot. I see a lot of the talks in social media. And I was like, yeah, stick it to him, stick it to the CEO. But like, I don't think people read the article and realized that the shareholders were saying that when usually those
No.
they're the butt end of the joke where it's like, man, I can't wait to wake up in the morning and line the shareholders' pockets. Oh boy.
Of course.
It wasn't like 60% of the board of the company. No, it's the shareholders of the company thought that the CEO was making too much, when I thought the CEO is usually trying to do his best to his or her best to be buddy with shareholders and make it to the best of the shareholders. So to have what's supposed to be a buddy relationship, shared values, it's not.
No.
So
And that's why exactly what you're saying, because in essence, this just means nothing. They're doing this because it is a show of good faith towards all those who own stock in the company. It's like, hey, like you can have an opinion, but that doesn't mean we'll listen to you. And the fact that those who own stock and are shareholders, as we're talking about, 60% of those who voted, and if go and read the article that, again, it's linked in the description, because they talk, it's all about money. So like,
if I bought 5 cents of Warner Brothers, could I have been voted?
I think
could I vote?
I think there's a certain number that you have to hit before you're allowed to vote. But like they're like it's all about numbers and like so like not just 60%. There's also like a number attached. So it's like that person who owns that much money who voted no, David Zaslav isn't worth it. They added them all up and hundreds of millions of dollars essentially said David Zaslav is not worth it in shareholders, which is an insane number. So,
dude, the stock tanked.
yeah, of course it tanked. Of course.
I could buy a share for $9.50.
Oh my gosh.
Which it was at $10 earlier today.
That's
So
still to drop 50 cents is like kind of
a whole dollar. They dropped a
whole dollar. That's still getting back to the numbers.
Anyway.
Yeah, getting back to the shareholder numbers. When compared to last year's vote, so this year's vote, 60% said he's not worth it. Between 46 and 54% of shareholders just a year ago said they were in favor of the pay package that he was offered last year, showing a drastic decline in the last 12 months. So, to put this into perspective, David Zaslav is the guy who shelved Coyote versus Acme for tax refunds, greenlit.
This is this year, right? You're going over his decisions of this year. To
Not
show
just
you
this
why.
year. This is the last few years, but there is a big number.
They liked him last year.
Yes, there is a big number that happened this past year. A couple of these things happened this past year, but there's a big number I'm about to get to that happened just in the last year, according to Variety, that we'll get to. So not only did he greenlight Joker Folie à Deux, he lost the NBA to NBC and Amazon, sued when the NBA would not let him match one of the packages, and then proceeded after that to try and claim we let them walk after suing that they didn't let him try to keep him around. So this guy does not make any sense. But he also reportedly lost Warner Brothers Discovery $11.5 billion in 2024, according to Variety, amongst other key failures. So this is that guy that now in this past year, they're like, hey, how about no? How about we don't pay him $52 million in a pay package? So comparing that to previous years as well, Zaslav's pay package rose 4.4% in 2024 to $51.9 billion, with 70% of that coming from hitting three major financial metrics, including revenue, adjusted, and I don't know what this is, EBITDA. I'm not sure exactly what that is, and year-end paid streaming subscribers.
Earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and
okay, perfect.
Amortization.
So essentially, just make.
I will actively look up what that means. Process of paying off a debt over time with regular fixed payments that include both interest and principal.
Crazy.
So basically all your bills, taxes.
And where's all those bills going? Where's all that debt headed? Not to his bank account.
Record numbers.
Yeah. Oh, this should be the best year he's ever had. So anyway, the reason why I put all that stuff in there, especially with financial metrics, including revenue, year-end streaming subscribers, while Max did grow in subscriber base, he has not hit any of these. But according to Warner Brothers themselves, 70% of his 2024 pay package and his increase in pay came from hitting these marks that there's just no way he hit. So it's really odd. So Zaslav also had a 26.5 salary increase in 2023 and received $246.6 million, with 203 of that coming from stock option grants in 2021.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know either.
I'm going to look it up.
There's a lot of the reason I add some of these things, especially that last one, stock option grants, and going back to what he's doing with splitting Warner Brothers, it's just sleazy.
It's stock option grant is where he owns stocks of the company he works at because he's an employee.
So he owns 203 million essentially is what that reads.
Yeah, so 203 million of it came from stocks he owns in the company he works at.
Great.
Like a CEO of a company owning 51% or 49%, half of.
But again, he owns 203 million. So of the 246 he made in 2021, 203 of it came from stock, which makes a ton of sense. But also he's constantly losing money. He's bleeding money from the company that he is, not just because of what he's getting paid, but because he's putting out crap content. And then he's like, we'll split them and then give them this is ridiculous to me. This is genuinely like,
sounds like a baller move. Sounds like he knew what he was doing.
Bro, he's my spirit animal.
Dude, frat guys everywhere.
Yeah. You know what I'm going to do?
No offense to the frat guys. I just think that this is something they'd find really awesome.
I'm going to split my person in half, maybe not physically, but according to the government, and I'm going to give
No, go
all
ahead.
my student debt to my brother, and
Oh.
I'm going to let him handle. He's going to be the kind of ownership of the second half of me financially, and he's going to take over all of my student debt, well, all of however many thousands of it, and I'm just going to go and make movies.
Oh,
How about
who
that?
gets the house?
Me,
You-
because I need to make movies. Obviously, he can get the apartment if he wants, but like I'm going to take the house and he can have the debt. It's a win-win, you know?
Yeah, in the outrageous rent.
Yeah, the outrageous rent, and he doesn't listen. The best part is he doesn't even get to keep the diploma that thousands of dollars got me. He just gets to keep the debt, so he can get, and that'll encourage him to go get his own diploma and get his own debt
Yeah,
that he can then
that'll encourage him to dig himself out of the hole. That
Yeah,
I
of
dug
course.
for him.
This is the boot to the backside to get your life together. That's what Zaslav is doing to Discovery, essentially. Not Discovery, but kind of Discovery. So
I want to know what Gunner. I just want to know what mug did he throw? Where did he throw it? Who did he throw it at?
it had Warner Brothers on the side. He just, you know,
I
what's
feel
the
like
worst
it
part?
was like I Heart My Boss or something.
The worst part about all of it is he is still technically Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
He's ousted by Warner Brothers by staying in Warner Brothers. Anyway, so this is still vital. This is our last quick story or coverage of this first segment. But if you remember, Gunnar Weidenfeld Fells is still holding on to traditional television. CNN, TNT, Discovery. What we're about to talk about is the death of cable.
Is why that might not work.
Oh no! You know, it's like literally all these things are happening in the last week or the last 12 hours, and it's insane. So
And Gunner is like,
yeah,
he's sweating.
he's
dude.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is.
Sad.
Anyway, Jeopardy, Wheel of Fortune, and ESPN, not all in one deal because they're all not owned by the same people, but all in the same week are jumping to streaming in one way, shape, or form. We're going to start with ESPN. So beginning this past week during the NBA Finals, ESPN rolled out a massive campaign dubbed Sports Forever. The goal of this campaign is to leverage its history as a cable legacy brand to convince consumers to pay for yet another streaming service. This direct-to-consumer service is shockingly called ESPN. So there is the ESPN app, there's the ESPN channel, and now there's the ESPN streaming service. All different things.
ESPN Plus.
Well, ESPN Plus is a part of ESPN, and you have to have a cable provider for that. But yeah. So all these different. So anyway, the point is, all 30 things name the same thing: the channel, the app that tells you what's happening in sports, like your news, and the streaming service are all called ESPN. But getting back to the campaign, they ran an ad again during the NBA Finals that begins with a clip from the first ever broadcast of ESPN from September 7th, 1979, starring anchor Lee Leonard. During these first pivotal minutes, Leonard took time to describe or to explain to the audience what ESPN would inevitably become, which is kind of crazy because if you hear him, he had no clue about what it was going to be, but he articulated it perfect, calling the channel a sports heaven for sports fans. So, Sinan Dagley, of Butler, Shine, Stern and Partners, or BSSP, the creative marketing agency behind the Sports Forever campaign, emphasized how important these first words of ESPN's history were to this new era in this network's history, stating, quote, "We talked about it as almost this prophecy that he's like setting out this oracle who is setting out the next 4 decades right from the beginning. It's not modified at all. This is what he said, and it is perfect for ushering us into this new era." Also, ESPN Senior VP of Marketing Joe Fox mirrored these words, specifically emphasizing how being a sports fan is, for the most part, a lifelong affair. So, and I can directly back that up myself. I've been a sports fan. My whole family's been a sports fan since I've born, essentially, since I've been a kid. So they're using that as their marketing ploy, essentially, to say, buy our streaming service because we've been around since your parents were kids, which is genuine. So anyway, she goes on to point out that the network has been the trusted home for sports for generations, stating, quote, "That was sort of the starting spot, and we wanted to make sure that we're raising our share of voice and really hitting on ESPN's legacy and leadership in the sports place before we then do our product launch later in the fall." With over 47,000 live events produced annually, the ESPN streaming platform will include all of the live sporting events spread across all the ESPN channels and ABC, because if you're a sports fan, you'll know there's ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU, SEC Network, ACC, all this stuff is all going to this one streaming platform, along with ABC, which, if you know anything, Disney owns both, ABC and ESPN, and a lot of times they will like simulate, whatever it's called, cast together. So you have ABC and ESPN, they will show the exact same thing, and that's because they're owned by Disney. All that stuff is now going to this streamer, as well as original programming separate from cable, and all of the shows fans have come to love and expect. So SportsCenter, if you like Scott Van Pelt, the SportsCenter anchor late at night, he's going to be there. Everything you find on cable is not only going to this streaming service, but so is a ton of original programming and every single game you would want from the cable version already there. This, again, starts in the fall, and it will cost $29.99 a month or $299 a year. There will also be options for bundles with ESPN Plus, which I'm assuming if you have the ESPN Plus bundle, they're just going to say, go ahead. They're not going to require you to have a cable provider. Or you can get this app with Disney and Hulu. Or you can just get it straight. Elsewhere in the lane of cable legends, Sony Pictures Television struck a multi-year deal with Peacock and Disney/Hulu to air next-day episodes of the long-running game shows Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune. So, long story short, what happened in the realm of that? Sony and CBS are currently in a legal war. They're going back and forth of who owns the distribution rights. So it started in November when Sony sued CBS because CBS made some international deals for the distribution. And Sony was like, hey, we own that, and you're not giving us money from previous distribution deals. CBS countersued in April and said, actually, no, we own this. That's not you, and blah, 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 blah. And on top of all that, it's gone back and forth. The rights have flip-flopped in a California court. Originally in April, going to Sony, owning all the distribution rights, and then back to CBS in May. So as we stand, CBS owns the distribution rights. And you at home might be thinking, how on earth does Sony have the right now to make a deal with Disney and Peacock to send Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune to their services? Well, that's because apparently Sony found a loophole, and the distribution rights does not count streaming rights. So Sony looks at CBS and says, you know what? You can have it. Court of Appeals ruled in the favor of CBS. Whatever. You can have your cable. We're going to Hulu and we're going to Peacock. And now, with hundreds and hundreds of episodes a year, 76 million in potential ad revenue a year, 7 million daily viewers, all aging, they're trying to hit a younger demographic. Sony just gets it all, and CBS can't say a thing about it.
Man.
What do we think about that?
Gunsmoke.
Whoa.
It's still being shown. So, dude. We're back to cable, though. We're talking about the death of cable. There's going to be, eventually, I'm going to call this. I'm not going to say how long it's going to be, 5, 10, 15 years. I think we're going to have one massive borderline monopoly, bundle a bunch of streaming services.
Yeah.
And sell it for a price, and we're going to be back to cable.
So we were talking about sports, and I talked about sports on the show. We just talked about ESPN. It is almost unimaginable how much it costs. I'm a pro sports fan through and through. I love college sports. I worked in college sports for a really long time. The thing is, if I wanted to watch every NFL game, every NBA game, or at least have the option to watch all of the big games, I'd have to have a subscription to Netflix, Amazon, Peacock, cable, and ESPN.
Yeah.
Thousands of dollars a year just so that I could watch the Christmas Day game. And the thing is, it's frustrating because it's like, so again, you know me, I'm a big NBA fan. I'm wearing a hockey hat, ironically, but I'm a big NBA fan. I pay for the NBA League Pass, so I kind of bypass a lot of that. It's like $150 a year, which is a steal. So I split it with my brother. We watch them together. So whatever. The big games, like let's say that you want to watch, there's Wednesday on ESPN, the big games or whatever. You have Sunday on ABC. Like these are the prime time games throughout the week. They're not allowed to stream that on NBA League Pass. And guess what? They're spread across different other cable or subscription services. How? So yeah, so I make that point, piggybacking off your point, because what's going to happen is Netflix is going to say, "Oh, we're losing subscribers because it's too expensive because people they don't care about the Christmas Day game because they could just go somewhere else and get more games for around the same price." So then you're going to have exactly that. It's like Netflix and Amazon. Why don't we strike a deal so that we can each show Thursday night games and the Christmas and Thanksgiving Day games all together and blah blah, and then it's just going to compile and pile and pile. And
I might have another idea. What if they bundled it by teams? What
oh,
if you only like Netflix bundled the Chicago Bulls?
you know what sucks?
Watch all of Chicago Bulls. It don't matter.
I can do that on the League Pass. There's that, and
Yeah.
that would probably die in that instance. But the point, I guess, like the other thing too, is that like this kills. And I know we're going on sports, and I want to talk about all because this pertains to all of media and all of television because it's like if I like, so let's think here, like if I like The Bear on FX, but I also like NCIS comes on CBS, I think. All of a sudden now I can't do either because Comcast or not Comcast, who Viacom owns CBS. Viacom made a deal with Amazon, and Amazon's too expensive. And now that's me spitballing. That didn't really happen. But it's like Viacom and CBS made a deal somewhere else. I can't watch NCIS, so I can maybe watch a few episodes of The Bear and FX on Hulu.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, so it's like you can't, like the death of the casual fan. That, or
Yeah.
like for sports, it's like I like watching basketball to watch basketball. I don't always just like to watch the Bulls. The Bulls kind of suck, so there's that. But also, it's like maybe I want to watch two good teams play each other. Maybe
We're
I want to.
getting back to the. I mean, this is even more expensive than cable.
Yes.
Cable always was. I mean, it was expensive. I mean, I saw bills like $100 a month. That was like low for some households.
Yep.
Depending on the packages you bought. But at this point, $30 a month here, $30 a month here, $30 a month here, and you could just pay for cable.
Yeah.
Problem is we're killing cable.
All that to the death
There's-
of
there's-
cable. Yes.
There's not going to be like I'll attribute it to this. Oh man, I'm really tired of wireless earbuds. I'm going to go back to my iPod Touch and my wired headphones. You have that option. But guess what? You kill cable, you don't have the option to go back. Everything's gone.
I'll give you another really good example. So as everyone knows, I'm a big Doctor Who fan. I love Doctor Who. I have loved the show for multiple years now. When I started watching Doctor Who, it would come on BBC America, which would make sense, right? Like the BBC produced it. It no longer airs new on BBC America. You know where it airs in America?
No.
Disney Plus.
Streaming? Wow.
So if I wanted to watch Doctor Who post 20, so it used to go on Max, it used to go on HBO, but then that deal ran out, and Disney said, "Hey, BBC, we will assist you with funding. So here you go if you just put it on Disney Plus." But now it's exclusively Disney Plus. But if I wanted to watch before the last 2 seasons, I'd have to have HBO. The first 13 seasons are on another platform, and now the last 2 are on Disney. And guess what just happened? Disney and the BBC, their deal just ran up, and Disney doesn't know if they're going to renew. So if they go to another platform, is it just going to keep spiraling? Like, is it going to stay? Are those 2 seasons going to stay on Disney? So now it's like if I just want to say I want to recommend, I do this all the time. It's like watch Doctor Who just because if you're a sci-fi fan, if you like storytelling, it's always fresh. You know, new actor every 3 seasons, blah, 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 blah. I have to tell you to not only, hey, go watch it, go watch 15 seasons, but I then have to tell you have to have potentially 3 different platforms to be able to watch it all.
Arg, matey.
That's what I'm saying. Is like, who's going to do it?
You're gonna have to. Like what I mean is there's gonna have to be some nefarious
Piracy.
ways of getting all 15.
This
seasons
is
here.
the death of cable.
Yeah, it's the death of cable, and streaming is. I mean, it's to the point where, at this point, guys, let's just start reading books again. By the way,
House of Leaves.
says the guy who's also dropping several hundreds of dollars.
So,
on streaming services.
We did talk about how much I pay for YouTube TV.
I only say several hundred because I know how much YouTube TV can be.
It's only
And
so
it's-
I only pay for the base package, and Netflix.
It's
So
still more than I would pay.
you're right. Yeah. And
My 2 subscriptions, one for sure is Spotify. That's a necessary evil.
I don't
A
pay for that.
necessary
I
evil.
just listen to the ads, dude. Sue me. Look at
I
that guy.
can't, dude. I can't. I cringe. I will, dude. If I'm on the street, I'll figure out a way to pay for Spotify. Dude, I will. I
Panhandling on the
will.
side with your cup, and you hear, "Hey, I
I
need to pay
will,
for my
dude.
Spotify."
I will. I don't know what I'd do. I'd scrub people's houses with their garden hose and a sponge for
This
$100 to pay for a year
and
of
that's
Spotify.
what we're going to have to start doing to pay for all the subscription
Yeah.
services to be able to watch all the things we want to watch. And which is why we're going to get back to traditional cable, just package as something new. This is what I'll say. Oh, so you know what? I also forgot. Isn't there a deal on the table going back to live sports already for this where like ESPN, TNT Sports, and I think Fox are coming together to offer one package for their games? That's already cable. That was like a year ago.
We're back to cable.
We're already there. It just hasn't unveiled yet. Maybe that's why ESPN as an app is a thing, because maybe they moved away from it because I know there was some legal trouble. But like that, we're already there. And you know who's at the forefront of the death of cable?
Ooh.
Good old Gunner.
Gunner.
Good old Gunner Weidenfels. Going back to the beginning of this topic is
On the Titanic, he was given the violin and told to play.
Yeah, I don't want to just play. Yeah, he's going.
Tough.
He's down with the ship. On that note, I think this is a perfect opportunity. We're going on an hour, and we have one more segment left. I promise it won't be as extensive. So, let's see. I gotta find my place again. Excuse me. I'm so sorry.
You don't know where you're at?
No, I accidentally hit a button. So, anyway. Coming up after the break, we have a bidding war for one of cinema's most legendary slashers, major news from Blumhouse and Star Wars, and so much more coming up. And welcome back to Beyond the Screen. You made it to segment 3. We're going to continue with cinema news. But first, as always, I like to say thank you to everybody who's made it this far. You usually are here for an hour to make it to segment 3 anyway. We are trying to speed this thing up, believe it or not. We really are. But as always, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. We would love if you would leave a like, comment, maybe subscribe, maybe follow if you feel so daring. But we would absolutely love to hear your opinion, especially. Reach out to us, or the Beyond the Screen Instagram, TikTok. There's now a LinkedIn. We're expanding, so Emily will love it if you started following our LinkedIn. But in all seriousness, we really want to hear from you guys. We love that you guys are here, and we really appreciate just you taking the time to listen to us. So thank you. And as always, much love. And with that out of the way, we'll go ahead and move on to our final discussion topics. So starting off in the world of horror, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre has a bidding war, and that thing is heating up. And let me tell you, of all the things I expected to read this past week, this was not one of them. The thing is, horror like icons have a tendency to come back around. Like I think it's Peacock that's releasing a like a Crystal Lake, like a Friday the 13th series, like prequel series for Jason Voorhees. I've heard more about potentially a Nightmare on Elm Street remake. But all that stuff is kind of like, hey, this is a series. This might happen. This is actually something that's happening. And there's some heavy hitters on the way trying to vie for, again, one of horror's all-time classics in terms of slasher villains. And that is for Leatherface. So particular producers to note that are involved include Jordan Peele's Monkey Paw, Taylor Sheridan, who did Yellowstone 1923, 1883, and so on and so forth. He's a creator of those series. With Paramount, they're vying for it. Osgood Perkins and Neon after their deal that keeps the guy around for a lot longer. He is also fighting for it. Glenn Powell and A24. I will note Glenn Powell is not looking to star as of this moment, but he is attached with A24 for a potential whatever Texas Chainsaw Massacre, just some content, and Netflix. So, as we speak, the rights to the film's franchise are being represented by Verve, who currently is fielding offers from all these characters, this cast and crew of people that we've already talked about. Perkins would write and produce for Neon, with the 2008's edition of The Strangers, who is directed by Brian Bertino. He's tabbed to direct potentially if Neon wins it. So Osgood would produce, he'd write, but he wouldn't direct. And I think that's probably for the best because if you know Osgood Perkins, he's good at comedy, but his stories they're like Swiss cheese. They got holes everywhere. So I would be interested in that, but we'll see. Strange Darlings director J.T. Molnar and a Minecraft movie producer Roy Lee have pitched a TV series adaptation at A24 with Glenn Powell attached, but again, not starring. And also, which I thought this was another sleazy little tidbit, Roy Lee also pitched a feature length to Netflix separate from his pitch with A24. So this guy was just like, I want to do Leatherface. I want to do Texas Chainsaw, please. And so he pitched to both A24 and Netflix, and both are, in theory, vying for the franchise with him in mind. So as producer / writer. So Jake, I know you're not a big horror fan. We've been over this many times, but you know Texas Chainsaw Massacre. At least you know what it is. You might not have seen them.
Yeah.
Who would you like to see represented in terms of actually making the film? Are there any of these names that really intrigue you?
I actually think Jordan Peele could make a great, like, I don't know. I think he could make a great Leatherface. I always have high faith in A24. And then I don't know, like you said with Osgood Perkins, it's kind of like, but it is Leatherface, so like you can have holes. Like there's some liberties that I don't know. It's just one of those slasher films that you are definitely able
Yeah.
to have some holes in. It doesn't have to be so airtight. It's kind of like a Scream movie, maybe. I don't know. You hold the Scream movies in high regard. I
I
don't know if
do.
I'm saying that will get me killed.
No.
Um,
Scream
Ryan
are meant to have
Ryan is going
fun.
to be Scream. I don't even know which one we're on. I'm going to say 9,
No.
10.
No, but that's okay. Keep going. Keep going.
um, but I raised my eyebrow at Yellowstone in 1923 and 1883 creator because that's not. I don't know what else. You said Taylor Sheridan.
Mm-hmm.
What else have they done?
That's his big, like his kind of heavy hitter as of right now.
Sicario. He's done. That would be the other big hitter.
Yeah, it's the
Oh, he's.
whole. Go ahead.
All right, go. No, you go. I'm diving into IMDb.
No. Go ahead. I was just gonna back you up. I was gonna say Yellowstone, Sicario, and all of the spinoffs from Yellowstone. I should say.
Um, he's done. There was one that was like it was a pair of pliers holding like a tooth in it.
Oh.
I was wondering. I missed it. I didn't get to read the name. That was just the cover photo.
Yeah.
Vile in 2011. I don't know if he directed or
Never heard of her.
played it. Anyway, like they're not horror movies.
See this is where you're exactly where I am with Taylor Sheridan. Is that it's like it depends on what you want. If you want like really good story, you go Jordan Peele or Sheridan. But the thing is it's Leatherface. It's Texas Chainsaw. The whole point of the character, he's based off of a real life serial killer who actually did nasty things with people. And I would know this is not that kind of podcast, so I'm not going into it. But it's like the stories aren't meant to be great. They're just meant to be fun. If you have fun with that kind of thing, like it's meant to be scary. So it's like I think Jordan Peele, he's got such a niche feel that I don't know if it would add to it, because Jordan Peele is like, in my mind, he is the epitome of like, or he's the king of the slow burn. Like he freaks you out because it's eerie and because it takes 2 hours to get to. Oz Perkins, he's like, he hits you every now and then, but like, again, his last one was more funny. The monkey was more comedic. It was still gory, which I think adds to probably what people would want to see from a Leatherface and Texas Chainsaw. I don't know. I don't know any of these that I look at and that just scream at me. Like I don't know.
Netflix is just
Yeah,
here.
yeah. We want it. Yeah, that's just Netflix. And so it's like there's none of these, like if I'm going by just straight big name, it's Jordan Peele, because I feel like he's going to probably be the best of both if he can step out of his element a little bit and tell more of like a traditional slasher but still being himself.
I think he could.
It could be fantastic. Yeah.
Jordan Peele has range.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So I hold him in high regard as a storyteller, and I think he if you give him the reins and tell him that we want a slasher, a funny, or not funny, but like a fun slasher, I think he could do it because I mean, hell, he's Jordan Peele. He was
Yeah,
Comedy Central's uh, baby for the
long
longest.
time.
Yeah, I don't know if he still is, but I know that him and Key, right? Uh, I don't remember. I don't know his full name. Key
It's hold on, I'll tell you.
from the Key and Peele.
Keegan Michael Key in
Keegan
it.
Michael Key.
Yeah.
Um, they both are Comedy Central's babies, and then he swaps over and makes like Nope. I think was one of his first ones, and it blew everybody's socks off. And it's like, holy crap, he can.
His first
Was it
one
Nope?
was it Get Out?
Oh yeah, sorry, it was Get Out, I think. And that I remember that one being even bigger than Nope.
Yeah. Well, because it was like
Um,
everyone was like Jordan Peele. Like I was in
yeah,
high
he's
school.
making a movie,
Yeah.
and then it was like, holy crap, like everybody was talking about Get Out.
Yeah.
So I don't doubt him as a storyteller, and I think it would be him and then Oz uh, Perkins
Yeah, and
in my
so
list.
the last we've heard from Jordan Peele, so he's coming out with a movie called Him, which is it's more traditional Jordan Peele. He's producing. I don't think he's directing that one. He's producing. But that one is like a traditional sports film that turns horrific. Like I've never seen a sports horror ever, but he's doing it and it seems very interesting. It's got Marlon Wayans in it. Or Waylands, excuse me, the guy from Scary Movie. Yeah, he's playing a like a retired professional quarterback who is just he's a cult of personality and he's training the lead. So yeah, anyway, the point is that that's his next he's producing that one. That's his next film. I know we talked about it like 3 or 4 weeks ago how he got really upset when his team lost the bidding war for Kreger's next movie Weapons. And so this kind of is like he's vying for interesting projects. Weapons is more in his line, I think, but it's just again, I don't doubt him as a creator. It's just like this isn't something we've seen from him as a director producer. But of all of them, I would think I'd trust him the most, just because Oz Perkins seems to be very niche and he's missed a little bit. I don't know a lot about JT Molnar, and I won't even lie, Roy Lee seems kind of like he seems he's like A24, here's a series, Netflix, here's a movie, please. Like it just seems like I don't know, it just.
He's desperate. He's too desperate.
You're desperate. Yeah, it's just guys got to have standards, you know. But nah,
Yeah, right.
I don't know. The only thing I know Roy Lee from is the fact that he was the producer on a Minecraft movie, and it's like that doesn't necessarily instill confidence in me for Leatherface and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So,
Chicken Jackie.
yeah. Before we move on, let's see what else he did. I know Jake looked it up.
I'm looking up Roy Lee here.
Yes.
He's done How to Train Your Dragon. He was executive producer
On the original?
on the live action.
Oh, but see, that's like even further away. Like
Godzilla v Kong: The New Empire last year.
Nope.
Executive producer.
Nope.
A lot of films I've never heard of.
Too fantastic. We gotta strip. No Roy Lee.
Godzilla versus Kong 2021.
No Roy Lee. No. Out. I don't know about Molnar, but
It Chapter 2 producer.
Okay, that's fine.
Godzilla King. He's done, I guess, all the Godzillas. He did How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World 2019. That was the animated one. Keep going. It one. He produced that one. I'm going down the line. Lego Batman movie producer. The Lego movie. How to Train Your Dragon 2. We're getting in the thick of it. I'm getting more. How to Train Your Dragon 1. And now we're getting into ones I don't know. The Departed.
Yeah, that's a pretty well known film.
He was executive. And The Ring. And The Ring 2.
Okay, he's got. I'll give him.
A lot more horror towards the beginning than at the end. Actually, believe it or not, like there's a lot of the darker ones, like Shudder, I think was.
Yeah. I just don't.
Ring, The Grudge, The Ring 2,
The Ring was pretty good. The Ring was pretty good.
Shudder. Now I'm looking for specifically horror. The Grudge 3. Woman in Black. Is that a?
I'll say this is what I'll say is I'm just not none of these names outright, like obviously Jordan Peele's Jordan Peele, but none of them like outright make me super confident. Like it's like again I named Zach Kreger's before. Like it's like if that guy was gonna do Leatherface, I'd be like, oh, because he has an interesting aura about him that fits that style. But he's not aura. But he's not. Like that's the thing is he's not. So we'll see. So going on ahead and moving on, we got major news from another horror producer franchise.
Boo.
Boo! But I'll say yes.
You can tell who writes the script.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. That's just what happens.
We're going to Blumhouse. I am the one who writes the script. We're gonna talk about Blumhouse and specifically Phasmophobia to get a film adaptation at Blumhouse. The multiplayer paranormal investigation simulator from indie developer Kinetic Games will be getting a feature length from the horror legacy brand with no real story reported as of yet. Last July, Blumhouse enacted a survey, the goal in which was to classify 100 popular horror films from the last 50 years and categorize them into subgenres. In doing so, they discovered 24 currently active, quote unquote, thriving subgenres, and, quote, paranormal being one of them. So, of the 24, paranormal is currently thriving. All that leads up to the latest video game adaptation. So, Jake, what do we think about?
No, I can tell you what I know about Phasmophobia. If you haven't played it before or know about it at home, or even Ryan, um, this is a game where I believe you take on the role of, I'm going to say Ghostbuster. You have a van, you have a bunch of tools, you have a book for all your notes, and like you have to go into a haunted house, and there's like 20 plus, maybe 30 different kinds of like paranormal ghosts, or like I use ghosts as like a general umbrella term, a broad term here. There's so many different ones. Some of them I can't even pronounce. If I tried, the book would help a lot if I had it in front of me. But and you're tasked with going in and, number one, staying alive, but also, I'm going to say, diagnosing or figuring out which one it is by the characteristics that they exhibit when trying to kill you.
Yeah.
And the whole point of the game is to do, I guess, do it either 100% find every single clue and then without a doubt guess who it is, or go in, guess as fast as you can, get out, and get the payday for it there. So there's a quantity over quality and a quality over quantity approach to this game that I see some speedrunners do it. They walk in, yep, I know which one it is, and they walk
Ain't
out
that
to the
stupid?
van.
I hate seeing
It's
those because
so
it just
it's
takes the
so
whole fun
funny.
out of it. It takes the
It's
whole
so
fun out of
funny
it.
though. I love it because he'll like open the van. You start inside the van, open the doors. That tree's angled weird. Turns around, closes the door, guesses the right one, and moves on with the day. Gets paid $500 of in-game money. I don't know what it would be if he actually tried at it, but like $500 easy.
Man,
Didn't have to leave the van.
I'll tell
It
you.
was so funny.
Go
And
ahead.
that's probably staged, but I've seen a real speedrunner like enter the house, lay some salt down, see the footprints, could tell how fast the ghost had moved. And if his phone was glitching out or his flashlight flickered, he knew what it was and left and guessed it like within a minute. It was insane.
It's the thing I like about the game is that it is like it's very detailed in terms of like how you can catch the thing. I'll tell you the thing that scares me the most anytime me and my guys play it is like so you can get like a dots like a flashlight that projects dots on the thing so you can see movement in the dot. Think like an old Xbox 360 Kinect, like how they would have whatever. You could do the same thing but with like a flashlight. You could see them moving and that thing terrified me every time. It's genuinely scary. I don't necessarily have a problem because it is so thorough. Like I think that they could make something out of it in terms of like the actual investigation type. However,
I want to see the speed run in the movie.
yeah, right, yeah, tree's weird, but the big thing is that like it now. Correct me if I'm wrong because I don't play like I just play it to goof around. Like obviously, like we're me and my friends we're kind of serious because we want to really discover what it is, and we're not good at the game. So it's like it's fun in that way just to kind of be spooky, but also it's like I'm not really on the lookout for lore per se. There's no story, is there? Like
To my knowledge, no. I always thought it was just per house, per
yeah.
like iteration of the, like you load up that particular. It's not even a level. It's just you load that that house with that particular monster. It's an algorithm and randomizes whichever monster you
Yeah.
get. And there, outside of that, there's no more lore other than knowing what the paranormal being is.
See, this is where I have a problem is that like if they move so far beyond like the phasmophobia type. Like is the whole point of it being like called phasmophobia is the only thing that connects to the game is that oh they're investigating but there's nothing that makes it feel like like at that point it's clickbait. That's how it feels. It's like if you watched it and it had a different title, you'd have no idea what it was connecting to or what it was inspired. But like, that's my worry with this, is that it's going to be, because there's no story. Any character you introduce is going to be completely brand new. It's like, if they can somehow make the movie feel like the game, I will pay money to see it. But it's also like, if you're just like, I'm also a horror fan. So if you just would have made the film and called it something else, I would probably have still gone in.
Paranormal Activity.
No, that's a good idea. Dude, we should write that down.
Dude.
Yeah, but like, you know what I'm saying though, is that the idea is that like horror fans would probably go and see it anyway if it's a good story, but you're just kind of catering to the video game type and just taking the name. And now that's per se, because I don't know if that's what they're going to do, but it's like,
right.
How do you, because it's just a simulator. Like, we've seen Paranormal Investigation. You go turn on your cable TV if you have it. You go and turn on your channel and you can find something like Paranormal Witness, Paranormal, or Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters. You can go and you can see that already. So it's
Right.
like, what are you, where is this going to be original enough that it's new, but also where is it going to connect back without just taking the name for nothing? Like, that's my big concern.
Elden Ring. No, there's a story there.
That's what I'd say. It's like, that's what we talked about. Is that like, there's actually, we're still worried that it's just going to be your typical hero quest. But anyway, sticking with Blumhouse, as you've probably already seen by our ticker if you're a viewer, they have acquired the rights to the Saw franchise, with Lionsgate remaining as a partner. In fact, they still own 50% of the IP, but now Blumhouse is involved. And why that's interesting is because Saw creator, director of the original 2004 film, is now one of the execs at Blumhouse, is James Wan. James Wan has executive produced on, essentially, from what I could tell, all the other Saws. He's been a part of them in some way, shape, or form, but now this allows him to have closer control. So 20-something years after the creation of the franchise, where he is an executive producer, where he's a bigwig, where I'm assuming he has partial ownership over at Blumhouse, now gets half of all creative control and half of the IP of the franchise he helped create. So what does that mean for this franchise? Who knows? But what we do know is that this deal comes right after last year's Saw 11 collapse, as Lionsgate creators could not see eye to eye on the next installment. And apparently the daggone thing just sat doing nothing for like 9-10 months before they reported it was dead. You had some producers pushing to finish it, some producers saying not to. Here we are. Now we have a deal with Blumhouse.
All right.
Any thoughts on Saw? I know you're a big Saw fan, Jake.
I actually have only ever seen one Saw, and it was the not Chris Rock. It's right? Or was it Chris Rock?
Was it a singer where he gets his?
No, it was the guy who got slapped.
Oh, you're talking about? Is that Spiral?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Arguably the worst one. One of the worst one. The thing is,
Jackson was in it.
I hold on. I'm backing up because I was more making fun of you for only having watched Spiral. But the thing is that I'm not really a big fan of the franchise either, so I don't have a lot of room to. I have openly said on the podcast that I'm not the biggest fan of like what I call gore porn.
I saw that one in a drive-in.
Hot.
Yeah. It was very humid.
Yeah.
It usually is.
Anyway, I think that's our sign to move on from Saw and Blumhouse. We've had enough horror for the day. Moving on, we're going into the realm of Star Wars, a time far or long ago. I can't say the term, I'm blanking. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. I was trying to be slick there and I completely butchered it. Anyway, Disney insiders think Lucasfilm presidential candidate and longtime franchise vet Dave Filoni might be too, quote, steeped in lore for the position. What does that mean?
It means they don't want to make money.
Arguably.
Because the one thing that Star Wars fans adore, love, need, crave, want is lore.
Yeah.
It's like the thing they live for. And you're going to tell me that the man calling the shots has too much of exactly what we want?
The thing is people do have critiques with Dave Filoni. They do. Because the way he creates he's a hit or miss sometimes, but this is the guy that brought us the Clone Wars cartoon. This is the guy, like Dave Filoni has been around, done that, and I think that while he might have hit or misses, we all do as creators. So anyway, we'll get into the actual report here. So in a Hollywood Reporter article outlining the various successions happening throughout major Hollywood outlets. So with that, think Bob Iger stepping down from Disney next year, Sherry Redstone trying to sell Paramount to Skydance and David Ellison and all that sort of stuff. Much conversation has also surrounded the eventual replacement for Lucasfilm head Kathleen Kennedy, a controversial yet successful figure in her own right. The conversation surrounding who would walk in her shoes following her departure was bound to kick up some heavy debate. We all knew it was going to happen. People hate Kathleen Kennedy, but she's been doing it for a long time, has some successes, had some failures. But regardless, there was going to be some not only debate, but some controversy following her anyway. So, and that's internally and publicly. So we might not have to look very far for who will replace her, though, as all signs seem to point towards an internal hire rather than an external search. So as things stand, Lucasfilm figureheads, including Chief Creative Officer Dave Filoni, as we were just talking about, and production head Carrie Beck, seem poised to co-lead following Kennedy's exit. Dave Filoni's been around since 2007 or 8, kind of a protege of George Lucas, been around since before the Disney acquisition. And Beck, if I remember correctly reading, she joined in 2011 or 12, so she's been around for a really long time. So these two vets are poised, if things go as planned, to be co-replacements of Kathleen Kennedy. So in reference to Dave Filoni, as at least one unnamed Disney insider seems to think he wouldn't be the right fit, stating to the Hollywood Reporter, quote, "He's not the Andor guy, he's the Ahsoka guy." In short, many are worried that Filoni's lore-based approach might alienate more casual audiences. So what he means by that is that, like, when you watch Ahsoka, you think to, like, I will say the average, like, not super connected to Star Wars, they're going to think Luke Skywalker. They're not going to think the Cartoon Network original, the Clone Wars, right? Like, that's the, and so Dave Filoni he creates the character Ahsoka, or at least in part created the character Ahsoka, creates the live action version. And what blew up recently is Andor, which I don't think he was really connected to. However, didn't Dave Filoni do The Mandalorian?
Yep, Mandalorian, Boba Fett, Ahsoka. I've got him pulled up here.
Oh, yeah. He hit or miss, obviously, but he
writer of The Bad Batch.
Which is fantastic. So, yeah.
Rebels, writer of Rebels. I'm looking at directing. He doesn't have as many directing, but he's had his finger in all these successful stuff, not Andor. And I know Ahsoka to be good. I have not seen it, but I have heard very good things, and people love it. People love The Mandalorian. And I mean, I had mixed feelings about Boba Fett, but ultimately decent.
Yeah.
And then Clone Wars is generational. That will live. Bad Batch is awesome.
It was so popular that they had to create a final season 15 years after it ended just to wrap up the story that we all knew what was happening. Like, it's not like no one knew. Everyone knew Order 66 was coming. But because it was so impactful, people said you have to create the last season with the original animation years after the original ended.
I don't know what the next project is, but like, I don't like that comment, because like, this is Star Wars and it all has to be profit based, whatever. Like, but we're showing people in The Mandalorian that you don't know unless you know, if you have the lore. Like, I don't get that comment. I don't get it, because all it takes is at the very, like, a flashback or something from Ahsoka. If you don't know Ahsoka, flashback to Anakin Skywalker, bam, now you know.
Yeah.
And if it's good enough, you're going to be interested in knowing the full story.
Yeah. So, like, this is what I want because I completely agree. Like, while again, I will concede that Filoni has his hits and his misses, and he might have a lot of misses. But the thing is he's created so much, it's bound to happen, as I said before. But let's point this out. Dave Filoni, not only is he a fantastic creator, do you know what he was doing before he did the Clone Wars?
Well,
hold on.
As I look at it.
Yeah, I forgot you had it pulled up. Go ahead and say it, actually.
I see Rebels came out in 2014, but
before
he was doing Avatar: The Last Airbender.
He was a co-creator of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
He was director of Avatar.
You know why he didn't finish that show? Because he was offered to do the Clone Wars
in 2008.
Yes, and you know what the Clone Wars does? It takes George Lucas's story, because when you think about, like, the prequel trilogy, when you read, obviously, the beginning ticker and you see all the lore it's dropping, it is so deep. the Trade Confederation, and all these things that's trying to tell you, like, these movies could be 8 hours long each because of how much. George Lucas looked at Dave Filoni and said, I want you to bridge the gaps. Like, I'm going to obviously be the head of all these stories. Like, this is George freaking Lucas. But it's also like, when you look at it, Dave Filoni is right there with him. Dave Filoni's the one creating the cartoon.
Yep.
So all this extra stuff, all these characters that you see, all the connection when people talk about, oh yeah, the Clone Wars and everything between episodes 1 and 2 and 2 and 3 is so vast. The reason that's there and the way you know it the way you do is because of Dave Filoni. Almost as much as George Lucas. And so this guy who created all this lore, at least helped expand that lore, directly taught from the guy who conceptualized the lore, is saying, hey, let me help you create the rest of it because I know what I'm doing. And you're looking at him and saying, you know too much. Isn't that ridiculous?
I'm telling you, Disney's allergic to money.
Isn't that ridiculous? I mean, it's just...
They really don't know what to do with Star Wars. They have absolutely no idea. You
hear that, and it just makes you lose all hope. It really does. You're like the sequel trilogy has been absolutely... Man, it was fun living it, because it's like before you knew what happened, before they dropped the ball. With the thing is, the second one with Rian Johnson was not good. The Last Jedi was not good. But what I will say is they had a chance to fix it if they did the third one right. And it was bad. I mean, I don't have to say that. Everyone knows it. Let Dave Filoni fix it, because guess who was not attached to that? Dave Filoni. That was J.J. Abrams. I could go on. And I don't want to keep going because, like, we have another Star Wars news to talk about, which I'm very excited for, as you've, again, seen on the ticker. But it's like, I understand that the guy might not always hit with every single thing he does. The Book of Boba Fett was not good. Okay, that's fine. But The Mandalorian is arguably a bigger title than anything Star Wars in the last 15 years.
And there's a movie.
Coming out. I mean, I don't know. I don't understand it. Anyway, we'll go.
And more Ahsoka, actually, I'm looking at here. There's an untitled Dave Filoni Star Wars project that we've mentioned before. Right?
Yeah.
And then another Ahsoka next year, and a Grogu Mandalorian movie.
Let the guy make. I don't understand.
I think after these three, it'll work out.
Yeah.
I'm really fast. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
I'm like a speedster.
Our audiences are like, oh. Anyway, we're gonna stick in a galaxy far, far away. I said it right that time. Maya Goth has been tabbed to co-star alongside Ryan Gosling in Sean Levy's Star Wars Starfighter, which I think is perfect. And we'll tell you why.
He drives.
Yes, he drives. He actually might, which is going to be hilarious.
He flies.
While we don't know a ton about the standalone, we do know that the film centers around, quote, Gosling playing a character that must protect a young charge against evil pursuers. What we know now is that Maya Goth will lead or at least somewhat be the main antagonist as one of the pursuers. Which, when I saw her casting, I literally was like, she looks like a Sith. Like, she looks like an evil. And so, now that we know she's going to play some villainous character, absolutely wonderful. So, this is the other thing we know about the story. Not a ton, but we know that the events of Starfighter take place 5 years after the Rise of Skywalker. So, after the sequel trilogy, which we just talked about, there have been some slight rewrites, like The Mandalorian and Ahsoka kind of do a little bit with the lore, but not quite completely reboot them. This will go after that. So Disney has done a really good job since 2019 of absolutely balancing between, like, they're tiptoeing around trying to decide what they want to do with Rey and Finn and all that. This will take place unconnected 5 years after. This is the first time really outside of The Mandalorian, which is still kind of connected, that we get an absolute standalone not connected to the Skywalker trilogy in any way, shape, or form. So it's like, I am thrilled for this, but even more thrilled is Sean Levy. As he described while he was at this past April Star Wars celebration in Japan, he described it as, quote, a period of time that we haven't seen explored yet. So Sean Levy,
sweeping it under the rug.
The guy who made Deadpool is the guy doing this. So he knows how to make a fun movie, and he's got Ryan Gosling. So I don't think this is going to be bad in the slightest.
No, it's not going to be I don't think it'll be very serious, but I think it'll be a fun one.
But it's the thing is that Star Wars is like, it's made for kids. Like, that's like a big...
Yeah.
I was watching something recently where Mark Hamill was talking about George Lucas and Star Wars and why he will never play Luke Skywalker again and why he had a problem with the sequel trilogy. And he had talked about, like, he was telling us all these things about, like, or it was an interview. I wish I could have kept track of who it was he was talking to. But there's a video of him talking in the interview. He's like on the red carpet or something. And he was talking about how, like, Luke has the black gloved, like, fake hand, like he's with his dad. Why isn't he tormented more? Like, why, like, by the dark side? And George looked at him and was like, this is for kids. And he said, so, like, that completely changed his perspective of the lore and of Star Wars. And then immediately when he gets to the sequel trilogy 30 something years later, they kill him.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'll never do it again. He's like, I don't want to run around as a naked Force ghost. Like, I don't want to do it. And so,
Right.
I don't know. It's just like, it's for kids. And so the whole point is, like, it's meant to sell toys. Like, it's meant to be fun. And it's meant to give you not just nostalgia, but, like, transport you somewhere else. So I think people take it a little too seriously. I think there is, like, a line of, like, okay, that's just not Star Wars. But also, like, if Sean Levy wants to have fun with Ryan Gosling and Maya Goth and, like, a gripping but yet lighthearted story, I say do it. I think that's Star Wars.
Yeah. I look forward to another Ryan Gosling film.
Isn't that going to be fun?
Can't wait. I watched Stuntman, right? Isn't that the name of it? Or
yes, his most recent.
yeah, I enjoyed that one. I thought that was fun. That's all. I mean, that's what it was. It was fun, right?
Yeah, The Fall Guy is what it's called.
Fall Guy. Sorry, it's not Stuntman. Fall Guy. That one was fun.
He's just a fun, like, he's just, everything he's in, he just seems like he's having
Harvey.
so much fun. Yeah, I mean, like, what was that one with Gerard Butler where he was, where he and him were just walking around? It's not called The Good Guys. Or The Nice Guys, that's what it's called.
The nice kid. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, I thought they were gonna do a number 2.
So, well, they're trying to get a number 2, but there's no
Gotcha.
update on that. But yeah, that does seem. Anyway, the point is that we think this. Like, I think it's a perfect casting. Jake's literally him. So he.
No, I'm gonna make it happen.
Man, for those who joined us not long ago, they will not get that joke.
Well, my parents said they listened to this, and they definitely won't. They don't get that.
Anyway, moving on. We're past our major topics of conversation, so we're going to do something we've done, and I still think this is kind of a scary part of our show. Trailers.
It's not scary for me.
Yeah, not scary for you. We're at our trailers where we will show you a couple seconds of the latest releases and of the teasers coming out and of the latest news we've heard. This probably should be still images, but we're teetering that line. Fair use. Don't copyright claim us, please. Anyway, we have no money. Anyway,
Introduce.
that's what I was doing. We're gonna start with Alien Earth. I was scrolling down
Get
to
to
the
it.
clip.
Get to it.
Uh,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
We're going to start here. So we have 4. Here we go. Your latest releases. As you can see on our screen, we're going to hop from Alien Earth. We're going to go to Wicked for Good, Maul 2, and The Last Bus. And I will describe them before, or at least I'll introduce them before. But now that you've seen our latest release graphic, here we go we're going to start with Alien Earth.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, interesting. Ooh, that
face
trailer
hugger.
actually does seem good. It's an FX original. It's going to be on Hulu. I am genuinely excited for that.
On Hulu, straight to stream.
I think, yeah, it might release on FX first because I know it's an FX original. But from what I know, FX and Hulu are kind of the same thing at this point. It's like,
But no theater.
no, it's a
Is it
series. It's a series.
Oh, it's a series. Sorry,
Yep.
I missed that.
Oh, no, you're good.
Series.
Yes, it is a series.
Everything's a series now.
I don't mind it. I like the thing about series is that, like, you get more time.
Says the guy who pays hundreds of dollars in streaming services.
Yeah, so what?
I don't mind it, but like my pocketbook.
It does hurt, but it's also like, I want to watch the pit.
Oh, dude, I'll find a pirate. I'll get you the pit.
Yeah, you might have to help me. But anyway, the second trailer we're going to take a quick peek at is Wicked for Good, the follow-up to last year's musical starring Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande.
Bring me the room of the Wicked Witch of the West.
Ooh. All
I
right.
like how we saw the OGs.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Like it looks fun. But the thing is if we see the OGs, there's a character that was in the original Wicked that dies.
The other witch.
Yeah. So the thing is what I will enjoy about that is that like the idea of like seeing Elphaba, seeing her reaction live, because you don't, obviously in the original you don't see that at all. So
Right.
seeing that death and her reaction to that will be, I think, a lot of fun.
Well, we haven't seen the other witch yet either.
No, but like that,
Right.
like that. Well, was she? I'm blanking. Hold on.
Wait, what if it's the other lady?
Which one?
The who is? Oh man, I'm sorry. I'm
No,
blanking,
look it up.
guys.
No, it's okay.
It was Michelle Yeoh, Yeoh.
Yeah.
Madame Morrible.
Oh,
I don't think it's the same
no,
one.
I
but,
don't
like,
think
maybe
so.
they take a creative liberty there. She did Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Yeah,
And Crazy Rich Asians.
that would be interesting.
But I don't know. Like, I think, well, it's a play first, right? So won't it be? We'll just go watch the play, Ryan. We'll get all the
That is
spoilers.
true. Well, the point is, I've not seen the actual like the play. I've never seen the play, but I did see the first. And anyway, we'll go ahead and move on. There's interesting like aspects to the story that can be continued in the sequel. Is the point?
Right.
So third, we're looking at Ma 2, which has Octavia Spencer. She plays a sadistic motherly figure in the first one, and that got announced for a sequel. So here's a quick peek at that story in general. Ah, Octavia Spencer. Ah,
On fire.
ah, yeah. How is
really,
she Michael Myers walking out of that? By the way, like that is the exact shot from Halloween, the 2018, where he like
They probably shot it there.
in the
They were like, okay, Octavia, get in there.
That's actually why Mike Myers got up and left, was because Ma was in there and he got scared.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm old. This is probably the end. I'm okay with burning. I don't feel anything anyway. And she's just in the corner staring. And he's like, actually, I can kill more. He's like, I'm going to leave. And so he gets up and he leaves.
I'll take over.
He goes, yeah.
Take it.
Yeah. He goes and he kills a bunch of firefighters and then he moves on. And anyway, another kind of underwhelming trilogy. Anyway.
I will say that if you do go watch Ma 2, let us know what you think. But when I was watching that trailer, it was like not that good of a trailer. I don't know how to describe it, but it was very who'd you say was making that?
I can tell you
a lot of money in that first trailer, I hate to say.
Movie 2019.
It was,
I can tell you, so it's on Hulu. It was made by
Universal. It was very,
Universal.
crudely put together. Like, it felt like it was very low effort, and I hate digging on somebody like that because I know time and effort went into it. It was just like the assets that somebody was given and the budget they were given to do, like, even like the not title cards, but like the graphics of the text on screen, even that just felt like it was rushed.
What's
I
interesting?
wonder what was going on in that editing suite.
What's interesting in the first one too is that it's got only a 55% of Rotten Tomatoes, and it's got a 5.6 out of 10 on IMDb, but it's made by Universal and Blumhouse. So I don't know, but
I've never heard of it. So
I remember when it was new. I've never seen it, and so but I'm interested to see what the sequel will hold. I'll say.
okay.
And lastly, our final quick look is from Apple, courtesy of Jake. Thank you, Jake. Is Apple TV's Matthew McConaughey starring The Lost Bus. And we're going to show a couple seconds from
Where'd
that.
it go?
I don't know, but Matthew McConaughey is going to find it. Here we go with the quick look at that.
There are 23 kids who are stranded. Is there anybody in the area that can pick them up?
Oh.
Well, I think he found the bus.
I better say, maybe he is the reason it's gone. I hadn't seen the trailer, so that's interesting.
Oh, very, very misleading, Ryan. Very misleading.
I'm sorry, I didn't know. I hadn't seen it.
From what I know, it's like one of those. It's not a Statham movie, but it's like one of those action films that's like heart wrenching, and Matthew McConaughey saves a bunch of children, I would assume. But it's also like the California fires. And the
Mm.
story is there's 23 kids stuck in a school, and he's got to go
Oh,
into the fire with the school bus to save them. It's the classic. I have a vehicle, and I have to go into the treacherous danger,
got you.
and get them out with my trusty vehicle here. And like,
My
we're likely
steed.
going to see we're likely going to see some problems with the bus, and it's going to get really high stakes, and the fire's going to creep up on the bus, and kids are screaming inside. And he's
Help
gonna
us,
like
Matthew,
he's
help us.
wrenching
Yeah.
as fast as he can, wrenching on the thing. Yeah, he's like, "Come on, girl!" And I bet he's gonna pet the dash. I bet he's gonna. Be
Oh,
like,
you
"Come
know
on,
he's gonna
girl.
like lean
Come
over you
on,
back.
girl."
Come on, girl. He's like, yeah, he's like, you wanna just start.
Oh man,
No,
I know it. I
the thing
know it's
is,
coming.
the funniest thing about the trailer too is that like, and it actually looks really interesting for the couple of seconds that we did see. But it's like for those who are listening on the road or whatever, it's Matthew McConaughey's got one hand on the top of the steering wheel, but instead of him being all relaxed or whatever, you heard the sounds from it. But he's just like his eyes are wide and he's looking down, he's looking around. The bus is empty behind him, and he's just like he's ducking up and down, wide-eyed. So yeah, it does seem very, very interesting.
So I will say, if you don't watch the trailer, I'll give a little bit more to you guys so you don't have to. But like, he's also got a kid, and I think that's like a big evacuation.
Whoa.
Um, and so he's got to like decide, and that was what Ryan described was him sitting in traffic, whether or not to take the right turn or go straight, I think. So he's sitting at the red light in traffic, and he's like, "Oh man, I don't know what to do. Like, should I go save 23 children, or And that is a dilemma, right? You
Yeah.
go grab your kid.
Oh,
and,
it's a
and
trolley problem.
paddle. Trolley problem. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
do
guess.
I save 23 kids or do I save my own? I tell you,
Right.
the answer is easy in my mind.
I says the guy who doesn't want kids.
I will never have kids, but if I were in this situation, I'm saving mine. I mean, like, I'm sorry. I contributed this offspring, it's mine. And if someone else wants to go get their offspring, they can get theirs. I'm
But
not listen,
Ryan, you drive a sedan, not a bus.
I don't
You
care.
could only get 4 kids.
I am
max.
telling you, if I were in this, I would be the worst person to ask this trolley problem because one, I'm never having kids, but secondly, if I did have a child for whatever reason down the
And
line,
you drove a bus.
and I drove a bus for whatever reason, I would be only focused on my kid. I could listen. If I get yelled at, if I had a bus and I picked up my only child who's separate from these other 23 kids and they yell at me for not saving the other 23 versus my own, who's at fault there? Because I'm like,
What if
you're
they were at
more,
the same school?
huh?
What if they were at the same school?
If they don't run, okay, so what? There's so many hypotheticals here. We don't know.
I don't know, man. I'm just saying, it's like, okay, what's one more? I
If
mean,
the scenario
23 more
is they're in separate, because the way you just described it is that they're at separate locations and he's got to decide whether or not between his kid or 23. Sorry, 23 parents, you go get your own kid. That's mine. Like, if I got
What-
time, I'll go out of the way and take a back road, I guess. But like, no.
That's actually crazy, because you would think that those 23 parents would either be trying to or already have gotten their kid. Why is it up to somebody from
Thank
the bus
you.
garage to ask the bus driver to go get the 23 kids stuck at this school surrounded by fire?
It is
Why
not my
haven't the parents
yes. It's not my
sought these kids out
responsibility. Just because I have a bus doesn't mean it's my responsibility to go save your kid if you're not going out of your way to try to save them yourself. If they happen to be like, it's like one thing to be like heroic if they're like nearby, but it's also like if you're asking me to go out of my way of my own kid to get your kid that you're not actively trying to save, I don't care. I'm saving anyway. That's way off topic.
I'm showing plot holes. Ryan's actively saying F them kids.
Yeah. Screw the trolley problem. I don't care about your morals. I'm saving my child if I'm in that situation.
I think they'll
Now,
go into it
this is the
and
other
solve
side.
that.
The other side is if it's just me and I don't have any kids, I'm saving 23, right? Like I have no connection, I'm saving more lives versus. But if it's my offspring, yeah, I'm saving my offspring. Why? I don't think that's very. That's not controversial, is it?
I think it is an ethical debate in a philosophy class that you could have. I still think like there are people who believe in quantity over, I would say, quality.
I'm moving on because that opens a whole other open. So that is the majority of our show. We're going to go through, we have about, let's say 6 or 7 quick what you should know before you go topics of conversation. We're not going to go through them all in terms of actually debating them, but we're going to read them, and then we're going to say one of our 2 that we think are the most interesting, and then we're going to let you go. So starting off, what you should know before you go from the podcast this episode. James Gunn's Superman will officially have a 2 hour and 9 minute runtime, so not crazy long. A little longer than the 90-minute typical, but, not bad. Walton Goggins is rumored to be in talks to play M. Bison in a live-action Street Fighter film. Yet another video game adaptation. We got our first look, I should say, at Nicolas Cage as John Madden and Christian Bale as Al Davis in an upcoming football biopic called Madden, surrounding the titular, not really controversial, just Madden himself. I didn't see this in here until now.
Dude, how'd that get in there?
Oh, how'd that get in there? Jake, I wish you guys could see our script because Jake lovingly added Sydney Sweeney as single. So
She is.
for those of you who are really interested in Sydney Sweeney's news, she's very single. She's also, and this is kind of gross, but
She had a fiance too, so ex-fiance.
not just that, but the bathwater thing with Sasquatch, or that she's selling soap infused with her bathwater. If you really want to know about Sydney Sweeney,
I've seen the jokes that have been made with like AI that it's there's also a piss bliss one.
oh, anyway.
Yeah, you want to get weird.
Yeah, California takes their shot at enticing film and television productions with the passing of SB-630 and AB-1138, which sounds like a Star Wars battle droid. Anyway, sorry, sidebar. But anyway, they passed a bunch of bills saying, hey, join us. And the way that they did that, Deadline explained it perfectly, so I'm just going to quote the article. Quote, the legislation would expand the definition of a qualified motion picture, allowing additional projects to apply for the tax credit program and including series with episodes averaging 20 minutes or more. Animation films, series, shorts, and large-scale competitions allow. The bill to raise the state overall cap on incentives from $330 million to $750 million will be voted upon June 15th. So right around the corner.
Hollywood.
Huh?
In Hollywood. Trying to keep Hollywood in Hollywood.
Yes, that's exactly what that is. Meta is courting major production houses to create exclusive video content for the company's next VR headset. Has had conversations with Disney, A24, and more, which is interesting. And finally, the latest and long-awaited adaptation of James Bond's origin story is finally here, but it is not what you think. While the world still awaits the follow-up to No Time to Die's promise of James Bond will return of almost 4 years ago, Hitman creators IO Interactive are taking their own swing at a new origin story for MI6's most legendary fictional agent with a AAA title called 007 First Light. With the release of a new trailer, we see a book-accurate, cheek-scarred new take on the James Bond we have come to envision. Following his journey from Royal Navy crewman to 00 agent, the game has a catalog of old and new faces. Familiar characters such as MQ, Moneypenny, and more are seen in the trailer, as well as the introduction of a mentor named John Greenway. The mention of a manipulative 009 can be heard throughout the teased cutscenes, as are quick glimpses of smooth yet action-packed gameplay. So, with that in mind, that's all of our quick hits. Jake, which of those caught your attention and why?
Do I have to say?
Excluding the one we've already debated.
I look forward to, dude, actually, I don't look forward to this at all. They run out of material and they're going to video games. I hate to say it. I don't hate to say it. I love to say this, and I think I'm right. I think that they've run out of stories in Hollywood, and they can't make up their new ones, so they're just going to different avenues to find source material.
Yeah, I think so. I find the fact that Meta is trying to find exclusive cinematic content for, I think it's called Lomus, is their next it's their next VR headset. I can't remember what their first one's called, but like the next version of that. It's sub $1,000, huh? Quest.
The Quest.
Yes.
Meta Quest.
It's the next.
Two.
It's the next Quest, yes, or the next version of their headset, and it's interesting because like that's just in my mind it enacts itself as like another streamer. It's like if streaming meets video games, that kind of thing. It's like we'll make exclusive content for your platform.
Yeah.
But what is also interesting, as I had just said, is it's under $1,000 for this headset. So it's somewhat affordable if you can afford it. That is a little bit more expensive than a normal gaming system. I think going back to James Bond, which I will show because I don't think this guy looks like James Bond. I think it looks bad. Outside of the scar on his cheek, which is cool because that's the first time you've seen it. Here you go, audience. It doesn't really scream James Bond, and if you've seen the gameplay, it's just Hitman, which is the main title that IO Interactive is known for. So for me, it really screams like Amazon MGM was like, we don't have anything yet, but we want people to know that we're making it and we want to make money. So here you go, make this, just reskin Hitman and go. And so, he doesn't even look like anything 007. I don't know. Like I
think he's too young.
Well, it's meant to be an origin story, but yeah, I don't know.
Okay, fair enough. If it's an origin story, I mean, he had to start young, but like I know James Bond to be, that like salt and pepper attractive.
Yeah,
right?
a little
the
older.
George Clooney of 5 years ago.
Yeah,
He's gotten a little grayer, but the George Clooney 5 years ago.
yeah. Off topic, George Clooney, he's acting in Broadway, and he championed whatever play he's in to be streamed live on CNN. So yeah, they're making money. Yeah, it's interesting. But anyway, going back to this, I think the other thing that's interesting to me is the Nick Cage as John Madden and Christian Bale as Al Davis. They look great. They look like the people.
Yeah, whoever's the makeup
crazy
on that, is insane.
So I'm excited to see where that goes, because I think that, Nick Cage is one of the more eccentric beings in our mediascape, but I will say that he has rubber face, as I like to say. He and Christian Bale do. They can change their complexion in a way that I call it that lovingly, and meaning that they can encompass physically just as much emotionally the characters they're trying to portray, not just with makeup. It's crazy the range on both of those guys, memes and all with Nick Cage. So I'm really excited for that as a sports fan, as someone who plays Madden, as someone who kind of, I didn't really grow up with John Madden because I'm a little young, but like everyone knows who he is if you know anything NFL, if you know anything or EA in football games. So I'm excited to kind of see that game or that film come to light. And that, ladies and gentlemen, that's been our show. Thank you so much. I know it's kind of a thing that we do, and it's every episode we're always thanking you guys, but genuinely from the bottom of my heart, and I know Jake's heart, the fact that you're here, it is insane that you're here for almost 2 hours, taking in time with us to hear us ramble and so on and so forth. So with that, Jake, anything you want to tell the lovely people before we let them go?
We really want to hear from you guys. We want some interaction. If you have any idea, let us know. If there's a way that you think we could run the show better, we'd love to try it. Yeah. We're as new to this as you might be.
Yeah.
So let us know. And that's me being earnest after 29 episodes of having something funny or crazy off the wall to say. This episode, I really wanted to strive for a comment.
Yeah. And well, the thing is too, is that like, what I'm really excited for is like, we brought on Emily, and you at home might not know Emily as well as we do, but she's an amazing creator. She's always trying to push the envelope and think outside the box. So I think online,
it'll be on the screen.
It'd be on the screen, yeah. So I think online you'll see our presence really grow in that sense, and that is mostly her. So, and she is absolutely fantastic. And Jake's our design Mongol behind the scenes. So if you like the designs, that's him and her, and she's coming up with the content.
Mostly her.
But I mean, like give yourself credit too. And so something I'm really excited for too is like you will see a growth from I think us, because we're not worried about our graphics. We're not worried about like we're going to be focused on script. We're going to be focused on helping her get her visual elements, but she's going to be completely running the show. So it's going to be I think we're all going to grow in our own element. And if there's anything you'd like to see at home, like I say that to excite you. If you like the content we do, but you're like, man, I wish that they do this and that. One, we're going to grow into that, but two, tell us so that we can know what you'd like to see. But yeah, a lot of fun stuff coming from beyond the screen. This is just the beginning. It's kind of crazy to think it's already been 7 months. But this is episode 31. And we're it's only getting better. And so thank you guys.
31? I lied.
It's episode like 18 of season 2. For those who don't remember, we renew every Oscars. So season 3 will come next March. But it's like it might be, I think it's 31 overall or something similar to that. Yeah. Like we've been going strong for a long time. So tell us what you like to see. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next week.